Let's look at 3 more examples. I'm just going to create a lane for each of these. So I'm going to solve each equation, each quadratic equation, by factoring and employing the zero product property. The first thing we need to do with the first equation is we need to factor it. So 2x squared minus x minus 3 is equal to 0. I would use decomposition to factor it in the following way. Now, it is assumed that you can factor, otherwise this would be an incredibly long lesson. So I have the green factor and the yellow factor just for convenience and discussion's sake. So 2 factors multiply to 0. This is true when the first factor is equal to 0 or the second factor is equal to 0. Well, the first factor is equal to 0. Treat it like a linear equation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract subtract 1 to both sides, so we get x is equal to -1. Now I'm going to move to the second factor. When is 2x minus 3 equal to 0? So to solve this linear equation, I'm just going to add 3 to both sides. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So I get my solutions are x is equal to -1 and 3 over 2. You can check your solution to see how it works out. Well, what are we going to learn in this next one? Well, this next one's a little bit more difficult. What I would like you to take away is that if you have, if your coefficients are rational numbers, you can just simply multiply those numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a common denominator. So I have my equation that is x squared over 2 minus 2 over 3x plus 1 over 6. So I'm going to create a common denominator of 6. And we may not know why until a little bit later. So this first term, I need to multiply both top and bottom by 3. This second term, I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by 2. The resulting equation is going to be 3x squared over 3 minus 4x over 6 plus 1 over 6. Pardon me, I'm going to revisit this first term. 3 times 2 is 6. Now what I'm going to do is we're almost getting rid of all the fractions. So I'm just going to multiply both sides by 6. And what pops out but 3x squared minus 4x plus 1 is equal to 0. We can start off with fractions, but what we can do is find a common denominator and then multiply through by that common denominator to get rid of the denominators. And thankfully, now we're at a stage where our coefficients are integers. So when I factor this, so you can factor it using inspection or decomposition. There we have it. So now I have 2 factors are equal to 0. An equation is multiplied to give you 0. Factor it. The left-hand side is 2 factors. The right-hand side is 0. This is true when the factor x or 3x minus 1 is equal to 0, pardon me, or when x minus 1 is equal to 0. I'm going to stick with the first factor for now, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So I solved this first factor is equal to 0 when x is equal to 1/3. The second factor is equal to 0 if I add 1 to both sides. So I get my solution is going to be 1/3, 1. So I used the zero product property. One side was equal to 0. Fortunately, I had fractions, but I can be creative and get rid of them. That's the lesson here. Now this next equation, 6x squared is equal to -x plus 12. Well, I want to solve this by factoring. But it's really important that I'm going to use the zero product property. But in order to use the zero product property, one side has to be 0. So one side has to be 0. Well, it's not the case here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, air quotes, move everything on the right-hand side over to the left-hand side. I do so by adding x and by subtracting 12 to both sides. I use decomposition to factor this, and this factors into 3x minus 4 times 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now that's assuming that you can factor well. If you can't, please revisit your factoring skills. Now, two factors multiply together to give you 0. This is true when the first factor is equal to 0, or the second factor is equal to 0. So now I have two linear equations that I can solve in order to get my solution. So the first one, 3x minus 4, is equal to 0. I'm going to add 4 to both sides, so I get 3x is equal to 4. Now I would like to isolate x, so I need to divide both sides by 3. So this is true when x is equal to a quarter. Now let me go back up to that second factor. 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. So I'm just going to subtract 3 from both sides. And then I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by 2. So the solutions to this are going to be negative 3 over 2, comma 4 over 3. What you probably may have noticed is that when I'm writing solutions, I always write the solution that is least on the left and what is greatest on the right. That is the convention. Anyways, I wish you the best of luck. Factoring or solving by factoring can be a lot of fun.